Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. So today we're discussing a few general trends that we've seen happening all over the market. Now with some of these, they do have to do with Rarity Collection 2, whether that's the set itself or cards that were affected by the set coming out. But we're also going to take a look a little bit into the future with cards from Infinite Forbidden or Battles of Legend Terminal Revenge, which are only a couple of months away, as we have some cards that are currently trending that are linked to those sets as well. Now, one thing I do quickly want to note, however, which we sort of just noticed, is that I hadn't gotten around to posting the giveaway for Rarity Collection 1. Those boxes are worth quite a bit more now. I've fortunately set one aside for our giveaway specifically, so I've put the contest link down in the description below. All that I'm asking for you guys to do is be subscribed to MST.TV, thumbs up the video, and leave a comment down below. Could be anything that you guys want, and you will be entered. I'll be drawing the name of the winner in about a week. The other thing I want to note is that I am going to be at YCS Indiana this upcoming weekend. Tom and I are both going. He's going to be commentating while I'm going to be doing written coverage for Konami. So if you guys do see us and we're not working, it would be great to meet some of you guys, because this is going to be my first time in that part of the United States. Anyways, let's get started. Now, first up, I want to talk about Droll and Lockbird, but I kind of more want to talk about Platinum Rares. Now, I think the biggest improvement that Konami made with the set is the change to Platinum Secret Rares, where you can actually see the difference between them and a regular secret. And honestly, I've had a lot of people tell me that they think that they look even better than the quarter century Secret Rares, and for some cards I definitely have to agree. The silver text on the card looks really nice. I think on something like Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, it really looks amazing. Now, going into the set release, I think a lot of pre-sales and such had Platinum Rares being very low on the price totem pole, because they were sort of viewed as just less good quarter century Secret Rares. However, I do think that over time players have found that they really like the rarity, and so we've seen a lot of attention being poured over to the Platinum Secret Rares on the secondary market. The result of this is that even after the set dropped, at a time where we normally see prices coming down, a lot of the Platinum Secret Rares have actually gone up in price, while the rest of the cards in the set went down. Droll and Lockbird is a great example, as they were originally around $8 to $10 when the set dropped, but they've actually gone up over time and are now about $15 to $17 each. Now, it does depend on the card, but Platinum Secret Rares look really good, and I think they might be a solid pick to invest in with certain cards. Specifically, you can buy them at a lower price point than the quarter century Secret Rares, which means that your overall percentage return if the card starts to see play might be a little bit higher. Droll is one of those cards that feels like it's always going to be relatively expensive no matter how many times it gets reprinted, so it's definitely one of the cards from the set that I would make sure that you guys try to pick up early on, and definitely keep your eyes out for other Platinum Rare cards that you like that might be useful in the future, because I do think that those have a very good chance of going up in the long run. Up next, I do want to take a second to talk about Crossout Designator. Rarity Collection 2 is something that a lot of players viewed as being sort of a flop because it doesn't have the same quality of reprints as Rarity Collection 1. However, I think that if you look at cards like Talents and Imperm and Ash Blossom, it was impossible for this set to live up to the hype unless you were going to include cards like Triple Tactics Thrust and SP Little Knight, which were just relatively unlikely and would have taken away from other future products. Because of that, a lot of the prices are relatively lower, but one card that I think is being heavily overlooked is Crossout Designator. Now, early on, this card was really hyped up when it was first confirmed to be coming to the TCG, but then it sort of flopped and never really saw that much usage. It has seen more play as of late, however, over the last 6 months or so, with players running it and actually seeing competitive success with it in their main and sideboards. Out of all the cards from Rarity Collection 2, I think that Crossout Designator is one of the few cards that still holds decent value for the Supers, Ultras, and Secrets, each of which is around $2 to $3, but I think that it definitely has room to go up even further, and then with the luxury rares as well. In particular, the quarter century Secret Rare is around $48 to $50, and then we have the Platinum Secret Rares at around $18 to $20, and even though that is decent value compared to the top end of staples from Rarity Collection 1 like Imperm and Ash Blossom, this is actually still relatively low. I know that in this set we have some heavy hitters like Access Code, IP, and Appaloosa, but those are mostly just one-ofs, whereas Crossout Designator is a 3-of, so players are naturally going to want more. So yeah, even though there may not be as high of a price point right now, I do think that Crossout is one of the best cards in the set, definitely a card to keep an eye on moving forward, as it's probably going to be the most expensive staple or 3 of in the set. I can definitely see all versions of this card going up as time goes on as well, so definitely try to pick them up now while people are still cracking open the set actively and values are relatively low. Moving on, we have a card that was definitely affected by the release of Rarity Collection 2, it's Pearly Noir. Now, while a lot of other cards from the Rarity Collection sets were more generic, Konami made the interesting decision to reprint the expensive cards from the Pearly deck in the set, specifically Pearly, My Friend Pearly, and Pearly Pretty Memory. These just happen to have been the most expensive cards from Amazing Defenders, which is where Pearly first came out. Now, prior to the Rarity Collection 2 set announcement, these were like $20 to $30 each, but now with the reprint, they're effectively just bulk. All in all, the Pearly deck became really cheap to put together, with a lot of rares and supers from Amazing Defenders, and then just your staples and extra deck cards as well. In fact, I believe Jesse Cotton actually did a video discussing how Pearly was an extremely budget, yet very viable strategy that could still see competitive success. However, as things usually go, when the whole deck becomes cheap, everyone's attention turns to it, and naturally, the next most expensive card becomes even more expensive because all those players need to try to buy it. Therefore, by default, the next most expensive card in line was Pearly Noir, a card that only came out in Duelist Nexus as an ultra rare. It's a really cool card for the deck, letting you discard a card to bounce your opponent's cards, and it can also let you set a Pearly trap directly out of the deck. Now, because it was only available in the one set, this card used to be $1 or $2, it's now actually up to $8 to $10 each. Of course, it is slotted to be reprinted in the 2024 tins, but those aren't coming out until September, so if you want to try out this newly budget strategy, you might have to spend like 15 to 20 bucks on a couple copies of this card. Of course, if you do though, I think it would be well worth it, especially given how cheap the rest of the deck is to put together. For the rest of the video, we're looking at cards that are already affected by future set releases, starting with Mementotlin Bone Party. Now, this card is of course for the Memento deck, and it's actually a really good card for them, letting you destroy a Memento monster on your field or in your hand, and then take a Memento monster from your deck and either summon it or add it to your hand as well. Of course, Bone Party is a quick play spell card, so it can be useful for dodging interruptions as well. With Memento, we got a couple of cool support cards in Legacy of Destruction, which unfortunately hasn't really done anything to make the deck perform that much better. However, in the Infinite Forbidden, they're getting a new fusion monster that looks absolutely amazing, and over in the OCG, yeah, the deck isn't exactly top tier, but it's still a solid rogue strategy over there, and it should at least perform, hopefully, somewhat well here. When Memento first came out in Valiant Smashers, they were pretty bad, and Bone Party was literally a $2 to $3 card. Once we had the support from Legacy of Destruction revealed, they shot up to like $15 each, but they still didn't perform, but they maintained a relatively high price point. Now, with this additional unexpected wave of support coming in the Infinite Forbidden, the card is literally almost $30 per copy, which is kind of a crazy overall price jump if you think about it. We do always have to be careful because sometimes certain decks don't become top tier in the OCG, but they're like solid at the local level, or maybe they're a rogue deck, but they end up being really good in the TCG. Just in terms of within the last year or so, we had Unchained and Melodious both not be very good in the OCG, but both are very strong contenders here, and that could definitely be the case with Memento as well. Unfortunately, we won't know until the Infinite Forbidden officially drops here in the TCG, but with all of the hype for the deck and the card's limited availability, I don't really expect this card's price to drop too much before then. I think that if you don't have them, see if you can grab a set of Bone Parties for around $65 to $70, just in case the deck becomes a more viable contender over here, and at the very least you should be able to move them for the same amount when the set is out, if it really isn't your playstyle. Moving on, we'll quickly take a look at Infernoid Perme. Now, this card is a level 1 Infernoid monster, and as with most Infernoids, it can't be normal summoned or set. Rather, you special summon it by banishing an Infernoid monster from your hand or graveyard. Now, all of the Infernoid monsters have some sort of cool utility on the field, and with Perme, you can target a set card on the field and shuffle it back into the deck, and that card cannot be activated in response to Perme's effect. Now, as a low-level Infernoid, it's really good because it's fairly easy to summon out, requiring just the one monster to be banished, and then we can use its on-field effect and then link it off as a material. Of course, we have Infernoid support coming in Battles of Legend Terminal Revenge, which is coming out around mid-June, and even though we don't have That Grass Looks Greener legal here in the TCG like they do in the OCG, It'll still be interesting to see how the cards can do with all of the different fire support, since the Infernoid archetype consists entirely of fire monsters. Now that said, most of the Infernoids have already been reprinted, or they're available in low rarity, making them relatively easy to put together. Hermes stood out to me, however, as the one monster that only has one printing as an ultra rare back from Crossed Souls, yet it has a really solid effect that you can use, and I think it might be a decent card for the deck. I don't think it's something that you'd want to run like 3 copies of, but it certainly seems like a solid one of just to play for the name. The card is currently around $8 to $9. I'm mentioning it because if it's not reprinted in Terminal Revenge, I could definitely see it spiking in price a lot. It does just depend on what reprints we actually end up getting. I wouldn't want to over-invest in this card just in case that reprint is there, but definitely have a single copy for yourself to use, just in case you want to play the deck. Now with this card, we're talking about Gradle Dragon, so no Gradles are not getting support in Terminal Revenge, but rather it's a different water archetype in the form of Ice Barriers, which are getting a really solid new tuner and a crazy level 10 synchro. Gradle Dragon is a level 8 synchro that requires the tuner to be an aqua monster, which the new Ice Barrier happens to be. Now, when Gradle Dragon is synchro summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of materials you used to synchro summon this card, and then destroy those targets. It does also have another effect, where you can target another water monster in your graveyard and special summon it with its effects negated when this card is destroyed. So really, I think it's the first effect where the value comes in, because it happens on summon, and it can target any of your opponent's cards face up or face down. I believe that with the new tuner, you can just use that and the 3 tokens it generates, combine them together, and then you get like a Gradle Dragon that pops 4 cards automatically. Anyways, for some reason, Gradle Dragon has just one super rare printing from back in Dimension of Chaos, a set that came out back in 2015. Now right now, its price is actually not that high, around $7 to $8 per copy. Of course, there's a lot of variables related to this card's price, whether or not it's going to be reprinted in Terminal Revenge itself, just how viable Ice Barriers will actually be, and whether or not they would actually even play the card amongst the other support options that they have. However, I do think that at $7, the card is honestly not that bad of a buy. It's a lot of potential value that you could get out of the card, and I feel like this is the sort of thing that once people notice it, because of its limited availability, it's going to hit like $20 for no reason at all. So yeah, this is maybe a bit more of a speculative one, since the card's price is high, but honestly not like absurdly high or anything to where I wouldn't bother picking it up. This is definitely a card to keep an eye on over the next month or so. And one final one here, we have Platinum Gadget. So this is actually a card that I've had my eye on for a while, because it seems like just a generically useful extender for any sort of machine deck. Platinum Gadget is a Link 2 that requires 2 machines to make. Now it can't be used as a Link material on the turn it's summoned, but you can use it to special summon a level 4 or lower machine from your hand to a zone that this card points to. So over the last year or so, this card has had potential applications in a variety of decks, things like Ancient Gears, Machina, or Super Heavy Samurais. However, I think there actually might be a bit more attention on it now because of ABC. We have the retrains of X, Y, and Z in the Light Duelist pack over in the OCG, so we should be getting those cards at some point here in the TCG later this year, and those cards will definitely make use of Platinum Gadget. However, the card has just one printing from back in Dual Power, which was actually quite a few years ago at this point, and so this card sits at around $7 to $8 each. Now to be fair, I think that there's a good chance that the card could be in that Duelist pack type of set as well, since it's been quite a while since Platinum Gadget first came out. But if it doesn't, I could definitely see this card continuing to go up in price over time as it gets harder and harder to find. This is another card to keep an eye on for sure. Expect it to spike once those X, Y, and Z retrains are announced to be coming over to the TCG, because this card's price will definitely move at around the same time. Alright guys, that is it for today's episode. Definitely some fun stuff coming between Terminal Revenge and then the Infinite Forbidden as well. I'm personally looking forward to playing Ice Barriers. I think it's funny that such a historically bad deck is actually going to be potentially viable. Obviously, not like top tier or anything, but it could be really, really good. And I am also looking forward to seeing a bunch of you guys at YCS Indianapolis. I am going to be there a little bit later, so my flight on Friday doesn't land in Indiana until around like 6 o'clock. So I don't know if I'll be able to go to the venue on the Friday, but I will be there, of course, on Saturday and Sunday. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's Market Watch, please make sure that you let me know by hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure that you check out the link down in the description to be entered into the Rarity Collection 1-box giveaway. And until next time guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.